Research study came out that said if you use mouthwash daily, it doubles your risk of diabetes. Please tell me why you think that's possible.
Because you have in your mouth, you have a lot of beneficial bacteria. And the only mouthwashes they're referring to, it's not all of them, they're talking about ones that kill all of the bacteria in your mouth.
Good and bad.
If you're using good and bad. And if you're using a mouthwash that says it kills 99% of the bacteria, that's a horrible thing to be doing.
Hello, and welcome to Legends of Longevity with me, Joseph Ence. I'm your host, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey towards living a longer, stronger, and more vibrant life. The podcast is about uncovering the secrets to longevity, things your doctor does not tell you, whether it's groundbreaking advancements in heart health, lifestyle tips to keep you thriving, or inspired stories of people who've defied the odds. Together, we'll explore the tools, techniques, and mindset shifts that can help you unlock your fullest potential. Whether you're here to learn how to enhance your well-being, support your loved ones, or just stay ahead of the curve in health and wellness, you're in the right place. Let's empower each other to not only live longer, but live stronger.
Yes, sir. This is Joe with Phasal Labs doing Legends of Longevity, where we talk to the best minds in the industry for the most honest conversations about the industry, healthcare, longevity, and getting the most out of your body. I'm today with Nate. He's the owner of Xlear, the president of Xlear. He's been doing that since 2000. It's a great product where nasal irrigation, gums, and sugars that actually leave good bacteria in your mouth and propagate a healthy biome. Welcome, Nate.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That was a good introduction. Covered everything.
So I go to a lot of medical conferences. It's kind of my hobby. I get to see a lot of different things and talk to a lot of different healthcare providers. 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a gal that was in Greensboro, North Carolina in 2011. She was a research assistant, and she was telling me how in 2011, they got a call from Anthony Fauci saying that they wanted the COVID-19 virus back, that they were studying. And they suspected something was up, so they took crystallography pictures of it, and they counted 19 spikes on it. Next time she saw this virus, she tells me, it had 27 spikes added to it from some type of gain-of-function research. And so that kind of opened my eyes, because that's counter-narrative, and this is a very trustworthy person who told me this. And now that I wanted to kind of dig into that, I'm open to stories about the CDC, NIH, all these organizations working against us. Can you tell us your history and what you see?
Well, are we talking about strictly COVID, or are we talking about history of the world?
We're putting the whole system on trial.
No, so what Xlear does, and I encourage anybody that hears this to go to our webpage. We have a page on our website where we actually take all of these studies that are published, peer-reviewed in the medical literature. Some of them have been in the medical literature for decades. And we'll actually put a paragraph, and then we'll put a link so you can actually go to the journal and read it yourself.
Beautiful.
But
you're helping people leverage the knowledge of our forefathers by keeping that on your website. Totally
correct.
Honorable.
I mean, the government told us to take it down, and we refused. So that's part of the reason why I think they sued me, is because they said take it all down, and I said pound sand, I'm not going to. I think I used a couple other choice words in that conversation. They were ruining my trip to Lake Powell. I was at Lake Powell. I had to go out in the middle of the lake on a boat, and I was talking to them, and they were talking, the FTC was talking such baloney that I just said, you know what, I used a couple of choice words. Sue me if you want to. I'm not taking it down. And they sued me. But that's later on in the story. So the story is that my dad is a physician. And in the 90s, he actually was looking online trying to find something to prevent ear infections in babies. He had a lot of kids in his practice that were having recurrent otitis media. And what kept coming up on these queries, searches on PubMed, which PubMed had come online that year, but what kept coming up was dental studies. And the reason for that is because they've been doing, the dental business has been doing research on using sugar, on using xylitol, and how it prevents tooth decay for decades, since 1969. And they know that it prevents tooth decay, very effective at doing so. I mean, the argument about for fluoride, I mean, this is a whole different rabbit hole to go down to, is a non-argument, because fluoride does not treat the bacterial infection that is tooth decay. Fluoride just makes your teeth. It's the perfect example of how our medical establishment treats the symptom and lets the infection fester. Okay? Xylitol actually gets rid of the strep mutans bacteria. So they're doing these studies, and one of the other things that keeps getting recorded in the footnotes of these studies is the kids that use the xylitol chewing gum, not only are they not getting tooth decay, but they're also getting 42% fewer upper respiratory infections, ear infections, and stuff like that. And in 1998, in Journal of Antimicrobial Chemotherapy, there was an article published explaining why that was happening, and it was showing that the xylitol actually binds up on those receptor sites and blocks the ability of the bacteria to adhere to the tissue. If there's no adhesion, obviously you're not going to have any infection. And you had just brought this up about the, whether it had, 12 spikes or 10 spikes, and then it went to more spikes. The thing is that when you really get down to the nitty-gritty, it's not the spikes that are attaching. Okay? It's a glycosylation of that spike, which is sugar molecules surrounding the spike, and the sugar molecules are what are attaching.
Really?
And so if you're filling up those sites with other sugars that are binding on that, you're blocking the bacteria and the viruses from adhering.
Okay, I had understood that I eat bad sugar, I chew it up, and then the bacteria in my mouth proliferates, and that acidy poop is what causes cavities and bad stuff.
Correct. That's cavities. You're talking about food and the metabolism of the bacteria eating the sugars. What we're talking about is bacteria and viruses in your upper airway, and when you breathe that in and it wants to hook onto those ACE2 receptor sites, the xylitol is blocking that adhesion.
Oh, okay, yeah. Your research did show that spraying your nose, irrigating, keeping that mucosal membrane hydrated doesn't let, especially with the sugars you have, doesn't let the bacteria, the virus stick to the human body.
Correct. And we have studies showing that if you used a xylitol nasal spray during COVID, you were 62% less. You had 62% less chance of catching COVID, and that's 62% above the saline placebo. And we already know from other studies that just using salt water reduced your chances of getting COVID by almost 20-25%.
Those are big numbers.
They're huge numbers.
Like in my industry,
that's why the government sued us.
Yeah, you had something totally effective. Like what I do, if you have something that's 10% better, that's a big deal for heart attack and stroke prevention. You're talking 60% better above nasal or saline. That's huge.
So you're talking almost an 80% reduction of doing nothing.
So if the world was logical when the pandemic hit, we would have all been instructed to irrigate our nose nasally?
Well, the interesting part of this is that the CDC had on its webpage in 2020, prior to 2020, that if you had a respiratory coronavirus infection, the way to treat it was irrigation. Physically reducing the viral load in the nose, so you reduce shedding to other people, and you reduce the amount of viruses in your nose, the viral load, so that it wouldn't spread to the lungs. When we pointed that out to the FTC after they sued us, 2 weeks later that was taken off the CDC's webpage.
So, yeah, let's keep going before I start getting angry. So you're like, hey, this is the right thing to do, is to keep this public knowledge out there so people can be healthier. Like, that's our job. That's
right.
We're trying to help people.
So before I continue on this story, think about this one for just a second. Okay? Think of all the times that people go in and see their primary care provider. All the times someone gets sick. Where do they get sick at? Where do the pathogens enter your body?
Nose and mouth, right?
That's it. They all enter through there. I mean, some might enter through, the other end, but the vast majority of them are entering through your nose and your mouth. And if And if you can keep that clean and reduce the bacteria and the viral load and make sure that you have a good microbiome in your mouth and your nose, you're not going to get sick that often.
Actually, I do want to talk about microbiome a lot with you. I don't want to forget that.
So I quit my job in 2000 and started the company that, Xlear, Xlear. And I started the company. My dad was a physician. He didn't want to stop being a physician. He was 63, and he goes, well, I got to keep my job in case the company doesn't succeed. What am I going to do with my retirement? I was actually doing underwater welding. I was out on oil rigs in the middle of the ocean, building stuff.
How cool!
I've had a couple of cool jobs. Anyway, so I quit and we started, and within 6 months we had a letter from the FTC. This is in 2020, back when the FTC was a little civilized. But they sent us a letter, paper, said, hey, you're making some claims you need to be careful about. Can you give us a call? And so I called them. I had a 45-minute phone call with them, and they explained the rules. And what they said is, you have studies showing that it blocks adhesion, so you can say that. You don't have a study published in the medical literature. You just have your dad's anecdotal stuff that happened with, 80 people in his practice. And it stopped their infections from, every couple of months to 0 over the course of a couple of years. And so we actually kept doing that. We said, okay, so for 20 years, the only claims we ever made about our nasal spray is that the xylitol blocked strep pneumo, H flu, and MCAT, the 3 major pathogens in the upper airway. We also know from other studies that it blocks staph, staph aureus, MRSA, that kind of stuff. Takes care of that too. But in 2020, when COVID happened, we should have done it, and I kicked myself in the butt for not having done it 20 years ago. But another company, an Argentine company, they actually did a study at the University of Tennessee where they showed that xylitol blocked the ability of SARS-CoV-2 to adhere to the tissue. Okay? Using it in a 5% solution, it blocked the virus to an undetectable level.
Wow.
Okay, we saw a huge decrease in ear infections, and almost an 80% decrease in ear infections by using xylitol, and that was only blocking it down to about a 70% reduction.
Yeah, Rhoda told me about that, and all my kids had tubes and ears and all those problems, and I am super angry at the medical system. Please continue.
Well, there's a lot of people in this country that are angry at the medical system. So anyways, they said you could put the claim out there that it blocks adhesion, but you can't say that it prevents anything. And so we did that, and for 20 years we did that, up until 2020. When the study was done showing that it blocked adhesion of SARS-CoV-2, we sent that study to the CDC, we sent it to the FDA, and we actually had a pulmonologist that was willing to do a study looking at people with COVID, because he was already using it to treat his COVID patients. And he wanted to do an RCT study and get it published. So they submitted the paperwork to the FDA to do that study. The FDA came back and said, this is in early 2020. If you wanted to do research with COVID, you had to get it approved with the FDA. Nowadays, it's, but we actually did that. We applied for it in May, the end of May of 2020. We got a response the first week of August, and they just said, no, we don't allow drug action studies to be done with cosmetics. If you want to make your product a drug, then you can do that. Well, the process of making a sugar, a sugar water. Our product is in essence a sugar water.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what happened is a couple days later we get a letter from the FTC saying, hey, you're making claims and statements that are illegal. And it wasn't a, hey, call us and let's figure it out. It was a warning letter demanding that we take all of this stuff and all the comments that we had made off of the internet, off our social media, that we take back the press releases, that we take them down, and that we take all the studies off of our webpage.
Because you got freedom of speech.
And I said, well, I'm not going to do that. You show me a statement that we're making that is false and misleading. Okay, we're following the rules the ground rules that you laid out 20 years ago. And they said, well, you can make it. So then they came back and they said, well, the study done at the University of Tennessee showing that it blocked adhesion was not done on human airway tissue. It was done on Vero-monkey kidney tissue, which that's actually the pharmaceutical industry standard. So the FTC decided they wanted to hold us, a nasal hygiene company, to a much higher standard than what they hold a pharmaceutical company. And so, but we actually went out and did that. We went out and did the study on human airway tissue. And what we did is we actually took different sugars. So I should probably explain this. Most of the sugars you're familiar with, sugar, sucrose, glucose, fructose, even sorbitol, mannitol, maltitol, those 6-carbon sugar alcohols, those are 6 carbons. Xylitol is a 5-carbon. Erythritol is a 4-carbon. You have other sugars that are different molecular structures. And what we did is we actually took erythritol as a 4-carbon sugar, xylitol as a 5, and we used, I want to say sorbitol was what we used as a 6-carbon sugar. And what we found when we tested it against H1N1, which is flu, SARS-CoV-2 of the Delta variety. What was the other one we did? It was a rhinovirus and RSV, and we also did H5N1, which is bird flu.
Dude, you were thorough.
The only one that we didn't have an effect on was the rhinovirus. All the other ones, it blocked their ability to adhere to the tissue. RSV, bird flu, H1N1, they all blocked it.
They all rinsed right off.
And the interesting thing, remember I mentioned about sitting in the we were actually sharing this study with the FTC while I was at Lake Powell, and I'm sitting in the middle of the lake because that's the only place I had cell coverage. And I said, and we were pointing out and saying, so here's the study that you asked for on human airway tissue, and they said, they told us that you can make this statement about RSV, you can make it about H1N1, you can make it about H5N1, but you cannot make it about COVID. And we said, why not? And they said, because we said so. And I said, that's ridiculous. Tell me what the logical reason is that you can make the statement about 3 of them and not about the 4th one in the same study.
Totally.
And they said, because we said so. There's no logic to it. It's, you either do it or we're going to sue you. And I said, fine, sue me.
Good stand.
So they did.
And you had to fight that all the way up to the Supreme Court to want to.
We didn't. No, they dismissed it like a month and a half ago. They realized they were going to lose.
And you had to use significant resources to defend this decision.
$3.5–4 million.
Freaking lawyers always win.
So, that was the goal of the FTC. The FTC knew that they were going to lose this case. They knew it because they hadn't, even 4 years in, they hadn't given us a single example of a statement that we made that was false or misleading, and they were suing us for making false and misleading statements.
Wow. That would make me so angry.
Yeah, but
You're doing the right thing for the right reasons, trying to help people, like everything we're supposed to be doing, and you're catching friction from your government. And specifically on the COVID variant. You can talk about the other viruses, but the COVID they reserved, don't be.
Not SARS-CoV-2. You didn't see that, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't.
But no, one of the other things that was interesting in the depositions, the discovery of this, the government agents, the FTC agents, we're deposing them and we're asking them questions like, did you read the studies? What we learned is that nobody at the FTC, none of all of the people that we deposed, not a single person that signed on the letters that they sent out to us, had ever read a single study that we sent them. Okay, hang on. You're laughing already, but the punchline has yet to come. Okay? When we asked them why they didn't read the studies, their answer, these are, college-educated lawyers working for our government they're of the greatest caliber. Okay? But their answer was, it wasn't in the media, so it couldn't have been true.
No way.
That was their answer.
Like they only listen to certain channels of information that they accept?
I don't know. But we sent them the studies. They never opened them. They never read them. They told us under oath that the reason why they didn't feel they had to was because if it would have been true, it would have been in the news.
Did they ever fess up as to who gave them the direction and the motive to go after you guys?
No.
So angry.
Well, if you want to get really angry, let me go back, because in May of 2020, the NIH actually did a study where, remember I mentioned that the CDC had on their webpage that the way to treat a respiratory coronavirus infection was just by physically reducing the viral load in the nose, saline irrigation? The NIH actually funded a study that was done at Vanderbilt, where they took 60 people over the age of 65. They all had COVID. They all tested positive. They all had symptoms. And all they used was salt water. And in under a week, 100% of those people were better. The company that made the product that was tested, a company called NeilMed, okay, it's just salt water. Just nothing else but salt water. But the company, the FTC, sent a warning letter to NeilMed not to share the data, take the studies off their webpage, take it off their packaging, all of that, and NeilMed complied. They took it down. They didn't stand up and push back. But the government, having paid for the study and having the data, went out and censored the company trying to share that data. And that was in April, that would have been April, May of 2020.
Early days.
So you're talking a solution that was readily available in the market that would have cost pennies.
You're saying there was a team, you're suggesting there was teams of people ready as soon as the pandemic started to shut down information they don't want out there. Is that kind of what it seems like?
I can't, I don't have information, but I think that something was out there, because it was, the levels that the FTC went to were absurd. They're beyond absurd.
Like they really
because you can talk about hygiene with a 5-year-old child, and these college-educated lawyers, when you sit there and say, when you think, oh yeah, I'm breathing a virus in my nose or my mouth, shouldn't I be washing that out a little more effectively? That's not a difficult concept to understand. These guys are college-educated lawyers. They're going out and censoring people. At the same time, you still have hundreds of thousands of people dying. And you have our government pissing, wasting, just destroying trillions of dollars.
You're not exaggerating. You're not being hyperbolic. Like, you're speaking truth. Okay. So let's change tactics a little bit. The book, The Real Anthony Fauci by RFK Jr., the guy who's now in charge of our health, or at least trying to make it better, he's not acting like the guy who wrote a book saying HIV was mostly fake, or large components of it were, that this is a lot, very media driven, we're being poisoned by corn syrup and seed. He's not acting like the guy who wrote that book. Can you pontificate a little bit about that?
I'm trying to think of how to pontificate. I think he's in a very, very difficult position. I've supported some of his things. Some of the rallies that he did, I helped fund because I believe in the cause. But I also understand that you're dealing with, an industry that is 20% of our GDP. And he wants to change a lot of what that industry is. I also know and understand that you have a lot of people internal to his organizations that are just waiting to sabotage whatever he does.
A lot of internal momentum against him?
Oh, absolutely. They don't even have to, there's already internal momentum against him. I expect there to be more firings, and I expect them. I'm looking forward to them, because the issue that I have, and I'm hoping that he sees it the same way that I'm seeing it, the very first job he needs to do before he goes and cuts the seed oils, before he goes and does any of these other things, is he needs to really gut the system of all of the bad actors that were in there before. These agents at the FTC that were doing this stuff, there were people at the FDA that were doing the same kind of stuff. The people who approved these COVID vaccines, they're right there. They need to be out, because if he wants to make lasting change, that's the first thing he has to do. If he comes in and he tries to get rid of the COVID vaccine on day one and get rid of seed oils and the food dyes and all of this, everybody's going to be against him. So get your horses lined up and ready to go in the same direction. And I'm hoping that's what he's doing.
I hope so too. Like, he's going after the easy stuff right now, the red dyes and the petroleum dyes, and that's good, but he's got to address that the vaccines have gotten out of control.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that one of the other things that he could do, and I'm hoping to get in front of him and have a sit down with him and chat with him about it. But this whole issue about fluoride.
Make my kids 10 points dumber? Yeah. Yeah.
So the argument about fluoride and the discussion about fluoride is a non-issue. I don't even understand why we're having it. Because fluoride has been around, they put it in the water for 75 years. They've been using it for 75 years. Prior to 1950, or prior to the 40s, I should say, I've looked this up. The American Dental Association was adamantly opposed to using fluoride in any way, because in order to use it, you'd have to use it in such levels that it would be detrimental to the people using it.
That's true.
Okay. In 1945, the NIH, they started a study, and it was done in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they put fluoride in the water at 1%. Not 1%, sorry, 1 part per million. 1% it would kill everybody. But they put it in at 1 part per million. And within 2 years, they were publishing papers discussing a 60+% reduction in tooth decay. So the data behind your fluoride in your water is more corrupt than the data behind your COVID vaccines. Because there's no way you're reducing tooth decay by 62%. If you go online and do a Google search right now and just say, how much does using fluoride reduce tooth decay? And using it with toothpaste and mouthwash and your pills and your varnishes and in your water, the best it's going to reduce it is 20 to 30%.
You're saying
that's
all the dentists
ADA.
in that
That's
city
the
didn't call
ADA.
in and say, hey, I'm down by half on all my cavities. I'm dying here.
I'm trying to figure out where the data is. Because I've had an assistant trying to find that data. They haven't been able to find the actual data from the study. But what we do know is that using it with toothpaste and mouthwash is only a 20 to 30% reduction.
Huh.
So tell me how by just putting it in your water and no other intervention, they got a 62% plus.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
It's fake. It's fake science. But what happened is the NIH had that study. The ADA, if you have 60+% reduction in tooth decay, you kind of got to get on board with it.
Yeah, that should get their attention if that's real.
And so they got on board with it. They trusted the NIH, and they started putting fluoride and encouraging people to use fluoride. The problem that I have is since 1950, there have been a variety of things that have been made available that work better than fluoride at strengthening the enamel of your teeth.
Really?
Okay, we use, in our toothpaste, we actually use sodium trimetaphosphate. It's a natural ingredient. It's not toxic. You can eat it, but it actually remineralizes your enamel about 40% stronger than what fluoride does.
Wow. 40%. That's a big number.
It is, but we have the data to show it. You can use calcium trimetaphosphate. You can use hydroxyapatite, which hydroxyapatite is actually the minerals that your teeth are made from.
What?
And you can use that.
Hydroxyapatite, that weight loss stuff?
No, that's hydroxythin. I don't know.
Okay, sorry.
Hydroxycut.
Hydroxycut.
Yeah. No, hydroxyapatite is the mineral that your teeth are made from.
Fascinating.
But hydroxyapatite, if you go into the natural markets, you'll find toothpaste with hydroxyapatite, but that works about as good as fluoride. If you really want something that works well, use calcium or sodium trimetaphosphate. But the regulatory agencies won't let anyone talk about anything except fluoride.
I'm writing that down. I believe you. You're right. I was at a heart attack and stroke prevention conference, and I'm in the audience, and I'm at a table talking to some other docs, and I said, "Hey, when are they going to bring up seed oils and the damage it's doing and the risk it increases in the population?" And another attendee's like, "They won't bring that up for another 2-3 years." I thought, well, that's crazy. At what scale and scope do you sense our medical system is held captive?
Oh, I think it's, I don't know how you call it, 95%. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there that works better than what the pharmaceuticals do, but the regulatory agencies aren't allowing people to talk about it. I mean, look at what they did with us when we were trying to share something.
You got clobbered.
They sue and they litigate.
What an offense.
It's an offense to sensibilities. But if we're not going, if we allow our government employees to be exempt from criminal prosecution because of their actions, nothing is ever going to change. I mean, the whole opioid crisis that we had here in the United States came down to one guy, one doctor at the FDA. Kept turning down, and then he met up with some of the people at Purdue Pharma in a hotel room in Pennsylvania, and a week later he approved it and didn't even have them put a black box warning on it.
Was this the Sackler family, or who was this?
Well, the Sackler family was who owned Purdue. The guy at the FDA, his name was I want to say White.
Hey, your memory so far has been incredible. I am so impressed at the knowledge you're pulling out, the research study. Like, hats off, my man. Hats off. All right, I've got a question a little bit off topic that nobody's been able to answer for me, but I suspect you might be able to. Research study came out that said if you use mouthwash daily, it doubles your risk of diabetes. Please tell me why you think that's possible.
Because you have in your mouth, you have a lot of beneficial bacteria. And the only mouthwashes they're referring to, it's not all of them, they're talking about ones that kill all of the bacteria in your mouth.
Good and bad.
If you're using good and bad. And if you're using a mouthwash that says it kills 99% of the bacteria, that's a horrible thing to be doing. And even if you have a high incidence of caries, the bacterial load of the strep mutans bacteria in your mouth is probably 15%. But the bacteria that help us digest gluten, the bacteria that help us digest milk, and a number of our other foods live in our mouth. And if we sit there and kill them over and over and over, what do you expect to see in our society? An increase in gluten intolerance and an increase in lactose intolerance. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, but that's why. I mean,
oh man,
you know, we talk about oral and nasal hygiene, and you can look at the definition. Most people think of hygiene as kill all the bacteria, sanitize it, but that's not really hygiene.
People only think of bacteria as bad, right? As negative.
Correct. But yet, if you start to think of, so the definition of hygiene in the dictionary is acts of cleanliness with the desired improvement in health outcome.
That makes sense.
Okay. Well, what you should be actually adding on there is acts of cleanliness with acts of cleanliness and managing a gateway microbiome that results in an improved health outcome. Because your oral and nasal hygiene products, if you're killing everything, are not getting the desired outcome. What you want to do is you want to use hygiene products that are supporting the commensals, the beneficial bacteria, and getting rid of the dangerous bacteria.
Okay, let me just recap that. Our mouth has bacteria in it that pre-digest the food we're eating. Starches, sugars. We need that. We need a healthy, good biome. If you nuke it with mouthwash or antibiotics or whatever, you're not going to be able to, and that throws off the balance and harmony of the whole body.
It does.
And so your lower digestive needs to make up for that. And, it probably causes mayhem. But your risk of diabetes quadruples or doubles if you clean out your mouth too good. And there's a whole emerging economy of oral and gut biome, bacteria, promoting the right bacteria. So it appears as if our health depends on us being able to balance some type of harmony with the good bacteria and bad bacteria in our body. And I know that with like females, if they take antibiotics, they'll get thrush. They'll get a yeast infection throughout their whole body because that balance has been so diminished. Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, keep going. You're opening doors here.
Well, what else do you want? I mean, tell me what else you want me to talk about. I mean, I can, but so even going back then, to what the government was doing to us in 2020, they filed a lawsuit against us, and we, went back and fought back, pushed back. One of the things that became pretty evident was we asked a couple of the guys, the lawyers for the FTC, we said, how long have you been working for the FTC? 20 years. Okay, in 20 years, how many times have you sent a warning letter out to an entity where they actually gave you studies and you retracted your warning letter? How many times do you think that had happened in 20 years?
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine once.
0. Never happened. Not a single time. And what that tells you is one of two things. It tells you that either the people at the FTC are as corrupt as hell, or it tells you that they're so effective that they've been batting 1,000 and never made a mistake in 20 years.
You had real research, real published research.
Yeah.
Like, you're not making up reindeer games here. You're like,
with
hey,
dozens,
let's help
dozens of studies.
Wow. Hey, okay, a lot of people don't know this, but not all research studies make it to the public. For example, there's a meal kit that's in a box. It's a mimicking fasting diet. And they did a research study comparing that week of meals in a box, cardboard food, very low sugar food, to like the Mediterranean diet. And after a few weeks, the people on the Mediterranean diet did better than the fake fasting people. And do you think that study got published? No, the fake fasting people sponsored the study, and they want to prove that they're better than eating reasonably. So that was that's pretty common stuff like that. Is that true?
That actually reminded me. Oh, it's true. Of course, it's true. That reminded me of when I was a kid. My dad, I come from a large family. There were 14 kids in my family. And we'd always, Dad, we want cold cereal. And my dad goes, no, because I've seen the studies. This is back in the 70s.
Wow.
But they did studies where they gave mice either the cornflakes or the box that it came in. And the mice that ate the box were healthier.
I read one that was they gave the mice like blended rice and then whole grain rice, and the blended rice rats got really fat because your body needs some type of resistance to break down the food. Like, the fight is healthy, the resistance is good, but the rats who ate just regular rice did okay. But yeah, the pre-processing is not good for you. But your dad read the research on that back in the 70s, huh?
Yeah. No, we grew up in, my dad grew up in LA. I grew up in a small town in Idaho. And, I don't want to say we lived on a farm, but, he bought big 50-gallon drums of wheat, and we had a grain mill that, we ground our own flour. We made everything from scratch. We, he had deals with the whole milk guy next door to the dairy farmer where we would get whole milk.
Preach, brother. Raw milk.
And we would get 12 dozen eggs every week, but that's what we were raised on. And, my family, other than some of us, we have a little bit of a health weight issue. We're all, I would have to say, spectacularly healthy compared to your common American.
Or a vaccinated population.
Well, we did get vaccinated as children, and I'm sorry to say that I did vaccinate my children, and I also will say that COVID opened my eyes to that, and they will never get another one until they're 18, and then after that, it's their choice.
Serious regret on my side as well. I'm even thinking of getting a birthing center where I don't need to vaccinate them, or I won't get any tricky shenanigans from the hospital on the vaccinations. Because everyone's that concerned now. Everyone is realized it's gone just too far. Everybody knows somebody who's damaged or hurt or destroyed.
Well, talking about Kennedy, I think that's the first thing that he should do. He doesn't have to take them off the market. He just has to make it completely voluntary. That schools and doctors cannot pressure people to get them. If they want to get them, they can. If they don't, they don't.
You said schools and doctors, not just the doctors. The schools teaching the doctors what to push.
No. I'm saying when you send your kids to school, they can't ask for a vaccination record.
Oh. Yeah, man, we should go full Amish on this one. Yeah. Yeah,
the schools should not be getting involved in your health care.
No, they should not.
I mean, talking about schools and healthcare. One of the things that I also would like to see them do is these schools all have a school nurse.
They used to.
Well, one my daughter goes to has one. But my question is, I don't know how old you are. How old are you?
47.
I'm a little older than you. What?
47.
So we're close. We're within 10 years.
All right.
Yeah. But when you were growing up, did they have hygienists come into your classroom and give you a toothbrush every semester and some little pink pills, and you'd chew them up and swish them around your mouth? And
the disclosure was.
So when I was a kid,
we had the going through our hair, but that was it. That's all I remember.
Wait, who was going through your hair?
The school nurse came through looking for chiggers and ticks on the kids. You didn't have that?
Where did you grow up?
New England.
No, I never had anybody coming in and grabbing me and checking me for bugs.
Yeah, they went through every kid's hair with like a wooden thing. And then when somebody got caught with lice, everybody knew because they did it in front of the whole class.
Oh, well.
That was unique, huh? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think they just wanted to come in and fill your head. But what they should be doing, I mean, what these nurses should be doing, you're not talking a lot of time, but they should be going in every semester for 45 minutes to these kids and teaching them about hygiene, teaching them how to brush their teeth, teaching them about food, what's good, what's not. Going in and teaching these kids about it, because our kids aren't getting an education about any of it.
Do you trust the government to tell your kids the right things right now?
No, I don't.
Even about hygiene?
I trust the individual schools to do better than nothing.
Yeah, and individual schools, like the parents need to show up. It's necessary.
Yeah. The individual schools a lot of times are controlled by the PTA. And you have if you're living in LA, you're going to have some crazy crap going on. Where my kids go to school, they come home and there's a list of what they, in fact, I signed off on this morning, because they have their sex ed and topics that they're allowed to discuss with my specific child. And so they'll go through what everyone can talk about, and then they'll send some kids to the library, and then they'll go through the next chapter, and then they'll send some kids to the library, and they'll go through the next chapter and send some kids to the library, depending on what the parents want their kids taught in school.
Oh, and the library is like, hey, you don't want to hear this part about syphilis for the 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, these are 14-year-olds, but yeah.
They're getting in there. Which part of Idaho? Just curious. I'm going to say Malta.
St. Anthony?
St. Anthony.
No, St. Anthony.
I'm not aware of that.
You know where Rexburg is?
Yep, yep.
So it's about 10 miles north of Rexburg on your way to Yellowstone.
Wicked. My wife's from Pocatello, so we're up there quite often.
Oh,
Fascinating.
Well, there you go. Yeah, we just called it Pokey.
Yeah, Pocatello. So a lot of my concierge doctors have said classy statements like, "My trust in the CDC and NIH is severely eroded." From classy people, those are serious statements. How do you think this is going to shake out in the next 5 years when people are discovering they're on a subscription system for diabetes drugs, for Lipitor, Crestor, for whatever? The medical system seems to put all of us on subscriptions. People are waking up and saying, I want to fix my problem. Right now, what's hot in medicine is longevity. And I think everyone's anticipating results-based medicine will be next, meaning you'll pay your doctor a certain amount of money for a certain amount of follow-up where you'll probably get, reduce your diabetes by 50% or results, like things you want to achieve. What do you think?
Well, I think, I can't even predict that because I think that in order to achieve that, you're going to have to get rid of Obamacare. And that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And you're just not going to achieve it with Obamacare. I think if you really want to achieve that, if you really want to stick it to the pharmaceutical industry,
I'm listening.
Don't get sick. Okay? Don't get sick. Exercise. And I think that I should finish that. Exercise, good personal hygiene, good nutrition, and sleep. And make sure you get enough rest. But if you do that, chances are that you're not going to be getting sick that much. You're not going to have to pay into the system. Well, you're going to have to pay into it. I mean, look at my example. I've been paying health insurance for 25 years. I've used it once.
Yeah.
Okay. I go into the doctor every couple of years because I have to get a flight physical as a pilot. I have to, they have to give me a physical every couple of years. Other than that, I just don't go to the doctor.
So you grew up eating clean food, not a lot of glyphosate, not a lot of sugar back then. Soda pop got bigger in the 80s, right?
Yep.
And then the corn
syrup. My mom would not let us drink. My mom would not let us drink soda in the house. Me and my brother used to go out along the road and pick up pop bottles, and we'd have to pick up 4 or 5 of them, and you take them back to the grocery store, and you get a pop.
I got to be careful when I say this to you because you are a sugar guy, but I tell everyone sugar is a drug. There's nothing not a drug about sugar. Meaning,
I agree with that.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, and so people don't realize that
it's inflammatory. It causes everything wrong. I can't think of a more common drug being used today.
And it lights up the heroin sensors in the brain, and they even to the tune of they spike sugar in food that you wouldn't think had sugar in it, because your brain still picks it up and it makes you much more likely to buy that food again.
And I'm interested to see how the USDA, the Department of Agriculture, how they kick the subsidies off of the sugar industry. Because we've been subsidizing the sugar grown here in the United States for 50, 60 years.
Yeah. You want to go into some history with me?
I just know that they're doing it. I'm not positive on all of it. I do believe that it goes back to when it was either Nixon or Johnson was president.
Cuba.
And what does it have to do with Cuba? Oh.
The sugar plantations.
Well, there you go. See?
And I've scanned tons of farmers up in Idaho. I worked that area a lot.
So did you ever, hang on, did you ever watch that movie about the cereal wars?
A long time ago. Maybe I haven't.
Jerry Seinfeld?
Cereal wars. I'm going to watch that, though. No.
Jerry Seinfeld, it wasn't that great. It wasn't his best work. But Jerry Seinfeld was in it, and he actually goes down to, I think he was portraying it to be like the Dominican Republic, but he goes down to a sugar drug dealer. It was like a total drug dealer, but it was sugar. to get a monopoly on the sugar that was being shipped into the U.S. so only they could make all the sugared cereal. But he portrayed the sugar dealer as a drug dealer.
Yeah. You know what? That's gonna be a good movie. I can tell. And Thank You for Smoking is also one of my favorites, about the message getting pushed and twisted. Moral flexibility. I use that line all the time. It's so great.
Well, our government is made up of people with large amounts of moral flexibility.
Amen to that. So I'm up in Idaho. I'm scanning patients with my ultrasound, doing my gig, and a lot of farmers are like, "Hey, I got some land. You want to buy it? It comes with government grants. They pay you not to grow food on this land." I said, "Say what? That's real?" "Oh yeah, it was even built into the price and the calculation. It was pretty it's been around a while." And so I'm looking at this summer. There's less cows ready to have babies nationally. We're importing a lot of meat. Farms are getting pressures all over I'm hearing reports of farmers getting pressure. I don't know, a lot of crazy things going on right now. You got any good theories as to why these confluence of events is happening?
I can't even begin to go there.
Yeah.
I've got I've got enough set aside to last me a couple of years.
Yeah. I got enough problems to solve.
I don't want to say I'm a prepper, but I probably got enough food to last me 4 or 5 years.
Preach. Is it in a concrete bunker?
It's spread out between 3 concrete locations.
That's right, my man. I'm 5 of 8 kids. I think we're thinking very similar here. You came from California. I came from Massachusetts. So we both
I've never lived in California.
Oh, I thought you said your parents came from there.
Yeah, my dad came from there.
And then you grew up in Idaho.
Yeah.
St. Anthony.
I spent from 4 up to. Do you know where are you at in Idaho?
Pokey. I'm in Bountiful is where I live, but Pokey is where we spend most of our time.
Okay. So my family lived in Cambridge, Idaho, Council, Idaho, over north of Boise, for 2 years before we moved over to St. Anthony. So we lived there from when I was 3 until I was 14.
Wow.
And then we left there and went to Michigan, Mexico City, and then came back here to Utah because my mom's mom was dying of cancer, so we came back here so my mom could go back to school.
Wow. What a good ride.
So,
what a good ride. Yeah, I chased a girl from Massachusetts. She had a summer job, and I was back from my mission in Argentina. And I knew a good deal when I saw it. I might get in trouble.
Wait, where did you go in Argentina?
Mendoza.
Oh, nice place.
Yeah, all the girls I dated on the East Coast were like, I'm going to be a businesswoman. I'm going to have a career. And this girl comes from Pocatello, and she's like, no, I'm going to be a mom. I'm going to raise a family. I'm going to make a bedrock. And I was like, that's attractive. I packed up all my crap in a car and drove across the country, and a few weeks later, started a whole new life in Utah. It was totally worth it. Yeah. All right, Nate, we covered all the big topics. I very much value your time. Thank you for coming on and talking some truth about the healthcare system.
Well, anytime. I could go on. I just finished reading a book. It was Suzanne Humphreys. Have you heard that one? Dissolving Illusions. She was just on the High Wire talking about it with Del Bigtree, but what it talks about is the history. I mean, this is the absurd part of it, is that our medical establishment is the 3rd leading cause of death in this country.
Not just medical mistakes.
Well, that's medical mistakes. Our medical mistakes. Our medical establishment is the 3rd leading cause of death. Okay?
Wait, is this the book where she tells you that the Spanish flu came out of Fort Detrick in Kansas City? That most of the vaccine, or she's got a different take? Please go
I
on.
don't know if that's the book. I didn't read that.
Okay, sorry. Keep going. Tell me more about this.
But so she actually just talks about all of the dangers that have been associated with getting vaccinated, not just COVID, not just in the last, not since the MMR, but going back to all of the ones way back in the 1800s, 1700s, where the doctors were reporting significant bad side effects. Even back then, and they were all getting swept under the rug.
So the vaccine industry has been in with the media industry for a long time?
For centuries. Well, it's the money. It's always the money. And the vaccines, or the pharmaceutical companies, always have more money than the individual doctors do.
Dude, in 1984, when that law was passed that we can't sue them for vaccinating or bad vaccines.
That's got to be repealed.
Yep. As well as the no propaganda against American citizens law. That needs to be repealed as well. I think Obama, it was a law after World War II, and then Obama repealed it.
Yep.
Can't be doing psyops.
I mean, I think the Patriot Act's got to be repealed. Don't get me started on all the political stuff.
All right, well, we're having fun now because I was going through the TS. All right, let me tell you a story. I'm reading a book about the Polish in World War II and how the Russians killed all the Poles, the Polish officers. And they'd come into town and say, hey, we're going to talk about schools and roads. Send your patriarchs to our commissar office. So the dudes would come in 7:30, 7:15, every few minutes, not at the same time. They bring him into the first room and say, hey, you're going to talk to our big leader. You got to leave your gun here. That's fair. The next room, hey, take off your coat, take off your knives. Next room. Eventually, he was helpless because he thought it was all in good faith. He goes into the last room, and there was a Russian dude, logs on the wall, dude's wearing a leather apron, leather hat, and the two dudes behind you grab your shoulders, and he pops you in the back of the head. They throw you in a truck, bury you before morning, and they're gone before morning. And this is before phones, telephone. So everybody's like, where's Dad? Where's all the village guys? They had been decapitated overnight. So I read this story about how this happened in Poland in World War II, and I'm like, oh, that's horrible. And I'm going through the TSA, and I'm taking off my belt. I'm putting my luggage up. I'm like, well, I've read about this somewhere. What did I read? And I believe firmly there's more good Americans than bad Americans. And so I go through the TSA, and it just makes me so disappointed every time, especially when I'm on the third leg of a business trip, and they find the pocket knife in my bag for the first time. And you're like, this is not helping anybody. This is theater. And that's been going on for 20 years.
Of course it's theater. Of course it's theater.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I want to talk about it on an open channel where other people are going to listen, but I can tell you simply how it's 100% theater.
Don't tease me.
It's 100% theater. I was just in Dublin. I flew home on Sunday, and as we're pulling into the airport, I had my friends that were over there with me. I pointed out to them, and I said, it's all theater, and this is how you know. And as soon as I said it, they were like, holy crap, you're right. It's 100% theater. There is nothing.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything.
And once you realize it's theater, you're like, wait a minute. These guys know who I am the second I walk in the airport. I go through the TSA, and that thing's a nut fryer. There is enough electromagnetic radiation coming out of that thing, and they tell you it's safe, but...
Well, are you TSA pre-approved or whatever it is?
I was, but now I'm the totally opposite.
And you shouldn't be going through that.
Shouldn't be. I got to opt out every time now and get the massage. The free massage.
Okay. It's the cheapest massage you'll get.
It is. They explain it to you every time. But yeah, traveling with ultrasound is no joke. Sorry, what?
Do they explain the massage, or do they mansplain what they're doing?
Yeah, that's a good point. They have to.
It's always a man. I know.
Yeah, I can't request supermodels, can I? Yeah, so that one really bugs me. This really goes out to physicians and doctors. This podcast. So Maybe we'll cut out certain parts of this. But yeah, it doesn't all add up, does it?
No. I mean, you can go back through history, and there's a great book that you should read about it. It's called Pandemic Century.
I'm listening.
And it's written by a guy by the name of Mark Hagenboeth or something like that. But they go through and they look at the Spanish flu. They look at AIDS. They looked at all of the diseases that came through the epidemics. There was a parrot flu. I'm trying to remember the other ones. But all of the epidemics that we've had in the United States, name me one of them that was solved by a vaccine.
Polio? Well, they say
None.
polio, but the clean water and
No, it
food
wasn't.
solved that a long time ago.
Yeah. None of them have ever been solved by a vaccine. Polio is the one that everybody brings up. But even polio, if you look at it, it was already steeply declining before the vaccine was introduced.
It was almost at zero.
But now, this is the bigger one. Find me one of those that was solved by a pharmaceutical product of any type. Again, it's zero.
Can we talk about statins for a minute?
I don't know anything about them.
Well, I'll educate you. Lipitor, Crestor, Rosuvastatin. These are all these drugs in the heart attack and stroke industry that we've been told necessary. And the incremental benefit to using them, we're told is there, but the damage they do, the people that are upset about the statins, and we're starting to notice that a research study came out recently that changed a lot for people. Your total cholesterol should be under 200. That's what we're told by the government. That's what to aim for. So we're given these statins to lower our total cholesterol. But a recent study came out, not even recent, just said, all right, we looked at everybody who's over 100 years old, and they all have super high cholesterol. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. So these doctors who have heart attack and stroke prevention clinics say, I can't totally ignore that. I've been clobbering these people's cholesterol for decades, prescribing these drugs that were hand delivered to me. What do I do?
So are the doctors that are having these heart attack and stroke prevention clinics, are they working hand in hand with a dentist? Are they talking about good oral hygiene?
That is becoming a thing. It's not mainstream, but I am shocked. Conferences like AOSH, American Academy of Oral Systemic Dentists and Hygienists, their main conference.
It's American Academy of Oral Systemic Health.
That's it.
Our company has been sponsoring that organization since it was founded.
They've been around a while. Good job.
Almost 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, so I go to that conference and I do the ultrasound showing people how plaque and heart disease, you can show it to people with the ultrasound. The new ultrasound probes are like $5,000. And so we're putting those in dental offices, and they'll do a screen just to show the patient if they have plaque in their arteries, which is really kind of bucking the trend in the industry because the dental x-ray.
Hang on, before you go on a little further, let me go back to the whole thing about the oral systemic connection. You asked earlier how far behind or how captured the industry was.
Yep.
The first doctor that started talking about that was 23 years ago in Lubbock, Texas.
Brad Bale?
Yeah. I couldn't remember his name, but that's who it was.
That's a crazy connection we just made. He's retired. He's in Tennessee now. Yeah, he was sponsored. I followed his career really oddly close. He was into it. He did great, and he kind of got. Oh, sorry. Keep talking, and I'll tell you a little bit more about him.
Oh, so where I think he got his ideas from is in 1997, 98. My dad went to one of these, the dinner meetings where the doctors get together and chit chat. And he discussed what he was seeing by using xylitol. And I think his wife, at the time, I think they got divorced, but I think his wife at the time, or somebody that he was working with, was a hygienist. and had already talked about xylitol for dental hygiene.
That's why you were at all the Bale-Dunedin conferences. I was wondering why Xlear would be there sometimes.
So,
fascinating. Yeah. So, like, the whole industry of heart attack and stroke prevention popped up because this one physician got super passionate about it. And, oh, no, not Lubbock. There was a conference in Lubbock. And, like, there's tons of nutraceuticals or vitamins or not pharmaceuticals where there's tons of research, like niacin, vitamin B3. It increases your good cholesterol 7 points a year, no upper limit, if you take it every day. Cardiologists who have heart attacks take 3 grams of this a day. It does a lot of good things for your body. It's tough to take because you get this full body fever from the niacin. And that went off patent, and there was never a sales rep that spoke of it again. The prescriptions totally died. It was a natural thing. It got sabotaged with some talk about diabetes and managing blood sugars, which was real, but it is very rare. Like, far rarer than, like, Tylenol overdose.
well, was it more rare than adverse events for the COVID vaccine?
I would suspect
Because
so.
I was told those were very, very extremely rare.
I was told that as well. However, the VAERS system says otherwise. You're funny. We were told a lot of things. Which lie pissed you off the most? Was it the masks, the 6 feet? Which one?
Well, I kind of ignored all of them. I mean, I had all of my friends come over, and I have a big backyard with a pool, and we would have, they would just come over and play all the time. We continued going to Lake Powell. I mean, the biggest lie that pissed me off the most is I was riding snowmobiles up in the mountains, up in the Uintas.
Yeah.
And I had a government employee. I don't know which agency he was with, but he chased me down and told me I had to get off the mountain.
He put that much effort into it?
Yeah. But he chased me down. I'm up in the mountain. There's nobody around me except the person I'm with.
That you came with.
and he's like, yeah, you can't be up here. We got a social distance.
He saved the world that day. He saved the world.
No, I actually, because I'm in this industry, I was paying a little bit closer attention, and I want to say the one that pissed me off the most was when they said the vaccine was safe, effective, and blocked transmission, because I had listened to a podcast that Fauci had been on, and it would have been in July or August, where he was talking about the studies. And on the podcast, he said, yeah, the primates, they all got sick. So it doesn't stop it from spreading, and we're working on that. But none of them died, which he didn't then go in, and I learned this later, but he didn't go in and say, that's because we killed them. None of the monkeys died in the study because we only did the study for a couple of days and then we killed them. But they didn't die from the vaccine. And as soon as they started coming out and saying it's safe, effective, once you get it, it stops here, it doesn't go anywhere further, blah, 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 I knew he was lying. And, I never took it. My kids never took it. And I told people and encouraged them not to take it.
I got fooled. I'm so angry that I took a bioweapon. So, all right, let's review some of the research that seems to be popping up around the world about this vaccine. In Japan, they're publishing micro self-assembling nanorobots.
So self-replicating, too.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with that information yet. Looking at the birth rates changing around the world, it's not really published, but you'll notice it. Some countries went way up, some went down. Pretty interesting. And then the duplicity of all the messaging has really got people on edge.
Well, I think that is, I think that the media killed itself. I used to
That is
watch
a
the
fact.
news all the time. I can't remember the last time I watched the news.
Zero confidence in mainstream news.
None.
My trust in the CDC has been seriously eroded. That when a doctor told me that, I'm like, wow, that's
I think one of the things that needs to be done to fix the credibility of the CDC is, the CDC, and if I had a thing to do this, I'd draw this kind of a graph. But if you look at, say you're perfectly healthy is over here on the right, and you're perfectly dead is over here on the left. Somewhere in here, you get sick, right? Let's say you get a cold or cancer or anything. Where's the best place to treat that illness?
where or when?
When and where? At what point?
As soon as you notice it, hopefully you avoid it with prevention.
No, exactly. It's to it's to move that line as far over to healthy as you can and treat it there. And that's what you do with hygiene. That's what you do with sanitation. That's what you do with your nutrition and your exercise. The further you let that get over there, the closer to the deadline, that's where it's going to cost you much more. That's why during COVID they said stay at home, don't do anything, wait until you get deathly ill, and then finally come down to the hospital.
And we'll give you remdesivir.
Yeah, because it's expensive. Because that's where they made the money.
Seemed like more of a tool to clear out the Medicare rolls so they could fill it up with fake Medicare people or something.
That too.
The mixed messages about hospitals being empty and over full. Crazy. People, getting ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine on the down low. The media vilifying that. It's craziness.
No, as soon as I heard that, I flew down to Mexico and picked me up a whole bunch of ivermectin.
Yeah, what was interesting to me is my private doctor prescribed me some, and I got it for no problem at all. But all my other family members who didn't have a private doctor and was going through CVS or Walgreens caught horrible resistance.
Well, that's why you just go to Mexico.
Yeah.
You go down there, you get a vacation. I'm very comfortable.
You were there as a kid.
I was there as a kid. I also went to Salta, Argentina for 2 years.
You were in Salta?
Yeah. I used to work for Pemex, Petroleros Mexicanos, the Mexican oil company out in the Bay de Campeche, working on their oil rigs.
You have had some interesting jobs. Oil rigs. What was the other one? On the farm in Idaho.
Yeah, that was as a kid.
That's still atypical right now, unfortunately.
I was in the Army for a bit. I was an ammunitions, explosives, and demolitions person. Not an EOD, but I was more in the supply side where I just worked with them and got to blow stuff up.
How fun. What a ride.
No, I've had a great life. I mean, I'm learning how to fly helicopters.
What made you pick up that skill?
What skill?
Helicopters.
Because I've been flying airplanes for 25 years now.
How cool.
So
How cool. Yeah, that's nice.
In fact, I'll be flying. I'm having a family reunion up in Idaho, St. Anthony, Idaho this summer, and I'm going to be flying a helicopter up there.
That's the way to play. Nate, thank you so much for the chat. I really appreciate it, and I really respect you standing up for the right thing there. So few people do that.
You.
We need more of it.
Well,
Be well,
I
brother.
agree.
Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. You too.